Hey friends, hope you all are doing well and staying creative. Today's video is going to be about sound design for film. I did the sound design for a 6-minute short film called 5 Star, directed by my friend Drew Lorenz. And this will be the first in a series of videos just breaking down and dissecting that project. In today's video, we'll be looking at how I made this rainy city soundscape and all the layers that go into that. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so we're in the project here, which also happens to be probably my biggest Ableton session. We're looking at, like 140 something channels, which is still nothing compared to a full-length film. Those projects obviously get insane, but anyway, I'm gonna play you the first about minute and 45 of the film, and I'll play it without the score, so you can hear just what's happening with the sound design. The score, by the way, was done by Ulrich Schnauz, who is a former member of the really cool German band Tangerine Dream. You might have heard of them. So if you want to see the full film with the score and everything, I'll put a link in the description below. It's on Vimeo. Go check it out. Like I said, it's only like 6 minutes, so you could just like pause this video, go watch that, and then come back to this. And just a little backstory, this film has no dialogue, so the sound design and the score have an even bigger role to play when it comes to storytelling, setting the scene, and evoking emotion. So yeah, let me just play this for you. I'm gonna start about like 10 seconds into the film. So that's where the soundscapes start going, and then I'll play you the first like about minute 45 of the film with just the sound design, no score, and I'll start breaking everything down. So with the first minute and a half of the film, the director wanted just like the tension and the energy to just continually rise to until she eventually breaks into the film studio, which once she breaks in and then you could see she starts rummaging through stuff, that's kind of like the peak energy, peak moment of the film kind of thing. So that's where if you heard the actual rainy ambiance and all that, that's at its height. It's at full volume. There's the most layers. There's the most stuff going on. And so that is intentional. It's supposed to just slowly build up. So I'll first start with the layers pertaining more to the city soundscape, which is dominant in like the very beginning of the film. And then I'll cover the layers that pertain with the actual rain and the storm and the weather, which is more in that build up, and then eventually like the actual peak where she's rummaging through this film studio. So before I get into all the different tracks here, I just want to say shout out to Splice, because that's where I got most of these sounds from. They have all these Foley and film sound design packs, and I recorded some of the sounds for this project at home, but I don't have like a Foley studio, so there's only so much I can do, but luckily Splice pretty much had everything I needed for this project, so that was nice. Let's go back to the beginning of the film here. This is where we have the most of the city soundscape kind of parts, and we'll start with that. I have a couple different layers and sounds going on here that are helping set the scene. There are two here, these city cars and the city outside, that's just what I called it. And this is kind of just like the background ambiance of that city. So let me just solo that, play those two individually. So this has, some like police sirens, just some like random noises, just city noises. They find some like construction stuff, obviously a lot of cars. And then this one here, it's a little bit more full, because this I did roll off some of the low end right here. And so this one, a lot more full sample, really hear these cars. And then that is augmented by a lot of different individual car flybys. And that's mainly for this scene right here, right? This scene and then this scene where you have all these cars actually flying by. So I have these individual flybys that are sort of timed to the stuff that you see on screen. So let me just play that for you. You can see that here. See, there's this, like that. And it doesn't have to be like perfectly exactly matching with a car that you see, right? Because you're not that tightly focused into the timing of an exact car. But it just needs to like make sense when your brain sees it. It just needs to you shouldn't be thrown off by it, is really what your goal is. It should sound realistic. Which, by the way, that's something I'll get to a little bit later in the video, is about realism. Something that with sound design for film is actually the realistic sounds don't actually sound the best a lot of times. In this case, it's a little bit different. We're talking about cars here, and yeah, you need these cars flying by, but you'll see in the rain and like some of these other sounds where you kind of need it to be over-exaggerated and hyped and with all these layers that don't really sound like real life, but it sounds larger than life, and you need that for film. The classic example is the punch. Like a punch in real life sounds nothing like a punch on film. On movies, a punch sounds super impactful and powerful, and it just doesn't sound like that in real life. So just a side note, which I'll cover a little bit later. So going back to these car flybys, I have a couple more here as well. Just like over here. Some of these have some panning already built into them, like just kind of like the left to right panning, and some of these I automated my own panning, like this one, for example. That one I automated the panning myself. And it's funny, actually, listening back to this car pass right now when I sold it, it's actually going from right to left, which is kind of wrong because all the cars on the screen are going from left to right, but I didn't catch that until literally now, and hopefully no one else caught that either. But like in the context of everything, it's hard to catch those little things. And then I have a couple specific car sounds for this white van that the protagonist gets out of. So for this one, we want to bring the audience's focus to that van. So I've made that sound definitely louder than all the other car passes. So let's just check that out. I'll solo this. There she gets out. And then the car drives away, which you don't see on screen. So it doesn't line up with it perfectly. Like I said, if I had the ability to, I would have recorded a car exactly, timing it. But it worked pretty well with the splice sample in the context of everything else going on. You just kind of need to hear the motor of the car coming in, fading into the scene and then stopping when the actual car stops. So with everything, so, in the context of all the other cityscapes and cars, this actually fits in quite nicely. And then I have some little things for the car door as well, which you heard. And just so you know, the film file that I get has no audio, so everything that you hear has been artificially added in this sound design project. So I have a lot of layers here of just different rain recordings, so I can get a really full sound, something, you know, larger than life, especially once it gets to the part where she breaks into this abandoned film studio. That's the peak of the film. That's when the rain and the storm and everything is just going crazy. So for that, you really need all these different layers and stuff. I find that one recording by itself a lot of times just doesn't cut it, doesn't give you that big full sound. So you really do need all these layers to fill in the frequencies and the dynamics and all that. So let's just go through these one by one. This first one is this light rain loop. This one is really providing that like high frequency portion of the rain, just that sheen, like the pitter patter of the raindrops falling and hitting the surface. With each of these layers, I'm also trying to cover like different frequency ranges so I can really fill out the frequency spectrum. So if we go to this next rain recording, this is a thunderstorm. So with this second recording, it also has a little bit of that high frequency pitter patter of the rain, but it also has more like low end, more mids, just a little bit more of a fuller sound. So, you know, I'll show you how that stacks up with that original, the first rain recording. So that first recording just, you know, blends in nicely, just provides another layer of like that sparkle and the sheen of the rain. This third rain recording here is more in the low frequencies, the low mids. There's not much high end here, so take a listen to how that sounds. So that's just filling out the lower end of the frequency spectrum. And then we have this other city rain recording here. And that's taking care of more of just like a little bit more of the mid-range, not so much lows. I'm also filtering this out. So all these have EQs on them just to, so they blend nicely together, and also with the actual scene that we're watching. So most of these are rolled off in the high end because there's just too much high frequencies in these original rain recordings. So let me just show you what that sounds like without the EQ. I'll just take off the EQ of these two. Too much high frequencies. Without the EQ, it's just way too much high frequencies. And we're going for a darker sound here anyway, so it definitely helps to roll off some of that high end. And then we have another rain recording here that starts pretty much when she enters this stairwell, this stairway hallway thing. So that is this. And that also has a pretty full sound. Not like a lot of super high frequencies, but you know, a lot of mid-range, some thunder in there as well. So let me just play each of these rain recordings and I'll just show you how they stack up. So let's start with this. So that's how they all stack up. They all play this different part in creating that soundscape, but I'd say it's all each sound is vital. And this right here, in this LFE channel right here, I'm just splitting this sound into its high frequency component. I can see I have a high pass at 100, and then its low frequency component here, I have this low pass. So that way, if I needed to take this mix and put it into 5.1 or Atmos, I have something I can put into like a dedicated .1 LFE channel. So all these sounds really build up, and then it eventually gets to the climax of the film where she's rummaging through this abandoned film studio. So that's where the level of all the sounds gets pushed higher. Some of the sounds, like such as this thunder that I was showing you, There's a low pass filter on this Thunder that gets lifted up just a little bit, so it's letting more high frequencies through, so that opens up the sound, which helps just make it, again, more full, more larger than life. If you listen to all these rain recordings just, by itself with everything, it doesn't really sound realistic. It doesn't sound like she's in this indoor space. But if I were to make it realistic, it wouldn't really have that same level of impact that we're looking for. And during this part of the film, I have a lot more thunder and lightning sounds going on, so you can take a listen to that. That thunder, that's intentionally supposed to be super loud. It's like right when she opens the door, it's supposed to be like this big bang, just FYI. And so all those sounds just pretty much continue on. There's a lot of volume automation going on there. And some of the rain recordings, like this one and then this one, they actually get turned down in level when it gets to the climax. And that's just to change the balance of which rain recording is like the dominant one you hear. Because these are a little bit more softer recordings. So I don't want that to be the dominant rain sound. I want the dominant rain sound to be ones that are a little bit more impactful, have more weight to them, which is like this one, this Brooklyn rain, this city rain right here, and then definitely this thunder rain ambiance. So what you just heard, that's like the main rain noise, and then these get turned down a bit, and they're just filling in a little bit of the frequency spectrum. That's all. So a very crucial component of sound design is also simulating the space that you're in accurately. So in this scene right here, us, the viewer, we are inside this abandoned film studio. The door is closed, it's raining outside, and the protagonist is about to break in. So during the scene, the door is closed, and then she breaks in, and then the door opens, right? So in real life, if the door was closed, you're not getting that much high frequencies of the rain noise. You're mostly hearing the thunder, the low frequencies. High frequencies are getting blocked by the hard surface of the door. And when the door opens, a lot of that high frequencies is going to be let through. So what I'm doing here is on all these rain recordings, I am lowering the cutoff frequency for the low pass filter. So I'm taking away a lot of these highs, as you can see right here. Boom, taking out the highs, taking out some more highs. So when that door opens, the cutoff frequency on the low pass filter opens up, letting in more high frequencies. And that somewhat simulates what it'd be like in real life. Obviously here we're trying to exaggerate it and overemphasize it, but hopefully you get the point. And all those rain recordings just keep playing through the climax of the film. Some of them I can see they're looped, which, I mean, you're not really going to be able to tell in the context of the film. And then they slowly die down as it gets into the sort of second half, the more chill part of the film. So let me just play that for you here. So that's another example of simulating a space there where she's entering this other room. She closes the curtain behind her, and so you hear less of that rain, you hear less of the high frequencies, and of course it's getting into the more chill part of the film. So in any case, we're trying to kind of have that rain die off and calm down. So it's sort of 2 for 1 there, and then it just continues to more of the light rain noises here, like this little Tennessee light noise and some of that. So I think that covers a lot of what went into creating this rainy city soundscape. Hopefully sharing my process was helpful and you found some insights. If you did, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a little comment down below, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay creative, my friends. Peace.